working here in Oklahoma with the Republican Party. I also go to school in Nashville, Tennessee, and I have also been involved in DECA, and I did that in high school, both junior and senior year. And if you don't know what DECA is, it's an entrepreneurship / marketing group that empowers high school and college students to go and compete, do sales events, and a bunch of other business qualities as well. So my junior year, I actually got second place at state in sales, and I was able to go to nationals. And then I went back senior year, and I actually got fourth place in sales at state, and that was really exciting. So a lot of the information I'm giving you today, I have learned through personal experience, but I have also learned through my communication skills at Trevecca Nazarene University as well. So first we're going to go ahead and get started with personal growth, because this workshop is over personal growth and communication. So I actually have a handout for everyone at the end that I'm going to give them. So feel free to take notes, but don't worry about it because I will be passing out something at the end as well. So personal growth, it means that you're doing something to better yourself. And if you're not pouring into yourself, then how are you going to pour into other people? So it's really important to know why you believe what you believe and to know yourself. You can do that in a bunch of different ways by looking on audiobooks, network marketing, listening to public speakers, going to meetups, workshops like this one as well. And I went ahead and put a bunch of different things on here. And I'm going to pass that out at the end, so like I said, you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so now it is time to talk about nonverbal. Nonverbal skills is something that falls under communication. And I'm really going to push on this more than anything, because the truth is I could stand up here for hours and talk about personal growth, but until you make the decision to actually grow yourself, it's not going to do you any help. So that's why I went ahead and put those down for you so you can go ahead and make the effort to grow on your own time. So nonverbal communication and verbal communication are two basic communication skills. It's interesting because nonverbal communication actually makes up the majority of your communication, and voice and tone is 38%, body language is 55%, and spoken words is 7%. So the spoken words part is actually not the nonverbal. That is just a word that you use. But the way that you say it is nonverbal. So if you don't know what that means, that falls under gestures, under smells, under the way that you look at something. That is your nonverbal communication. It's continuous. So even by Corey just sitting in the room, he's giving off his nonverbal communication right now. So first we're going to get started talking about voice and tone. Voice and tone conveys different messages. So I'm going to go ahead and give everyone a sentence, and you just let me know how you think it sounds. Okay. SpongeBob, how are you doing today? So can anyone tell me what they got from that nonverbal?
Squidward.
Yeah, okay, very good. It's stiff, it sounded like I didn't really care, like I didn't really want to know how Squidward or SpongeBob was doing that day. But if I said it like this, SpongeBob, how are you doing today? How's your date going? Then it sounds a little bit more personal, authentic, and like I care. So it's really important when using your words that you express them with power, confidence, and a smile, because even smiling conveys the message that you care about someone, and people can see that. The next one is body language, and there's actually going to be a lot of information that is covered underneath this category, so just bear with me, and like I said, I'll give you the notes at the end if you forget. So first we're going to get started about the don'ts, the do not nonverbal body language. So the first one is, let's say that I went to a business meeting with someone, or I went to go hang out with somebody, and while I was talking to that person, I decided to pull out my cell phone. And the whole time I am texting, looking down, I'm on Instagram, not really paying attention to what they are doing. what message is that going to convey to the person?
You don't care.
Right, like you don't care, exactly. So it's really important that even with your cell phone use, that you don't overuse it. I think that cell phones are great. I use mine all the time for business opportunities and to talk to people, but you have to be careful when and where you use it. Because it's actually interesting. You get a first impression on someone within the first 3 to 6 seconds that you meet them. So if you're on your phone the whole time, it's like you're not going to want to talk to them. That breaks the barrier. Within that first 3 to seconds, that determines whether you're even going to walk up to the person to talk to them to start with. That's a big deal. And that's something that we need to remember in relationships and in business opportunities. And that also goes back to the personal growth, and that's why it's important to know yourself, because people can tell that you love yourself. Because how can you love others if you can't love yourself? Now the do's of body language. Smile, eye contact, standing up tall. Oh, hi guys. How are you? Come on in. No, you're good. Standing up tall and smells. Yes, smells does fall underneath the body language. It's really interesting because they've actually done test studies showing that if your scent is too strong, that can be a turnout to someone, and they will actually avoid talking to you. So yeah, go ahead, sign in, put in a ticket, and we're talking about nonverbal communication, body language, and how that can relate to verbal. So don't worry about taking notes. I'll go ahead and pass them out at the end. So those are the do's of body language and nonverbal. That leads to my next point, which is handshakes. And this is actually my favorite part of the whole lesson of everyday life. Like I said, that you get your first impressions off of someone within the first 3 to 6 seconds that you meet them. Well, here's the good news. If you screwed up that first 3 to seconds, you have time to change that with your handshake. It's very fascinating because personally, me, I handshake everyone. At school, I'm known as the girl who handshakes people. But it's very important with business and getting to know people, especially in the United States. It's good to know what country you are in, depending on your nonverbals as well. So if you're doing business transactions here in the United States, you need to handshake every single person that you meet. That shows that you care, and they're going to want to do business with you. So let's talk about what not to do when you handshake, because there are bad handshakes. So if I can get a volunteer to come up here. All right. Yay. Okay, and what's your name again?
My name is Mark Perry.
Mark Perry. It's nice to meet you. Everyone, this is Mark.
I'm Mark.
And Mark, can you show me what the dead fish handshake looks like? Just an idea of what you think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
I've always heard corners of your palms.
Okay, yes. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but this is what not to do with handshakes. So the dead fish handshake looks like that. You just barely clamp on and barely shake. That's not good. Now I'm going to show you one I know, and that is the bone crusher. It's going to go in too hard, and you're going to hurt the other person's hand. I'm sure mine didn't hurt as bad because I'm a girl, but
That's the hardest part I have trouble with is shaking a woman's hand. I don't know how strong or how weak I should come in with that. So
right. Mark,
I don't know
that's
if
actually
that's any other
interesting that you
men
said that, because that is a problem that guys actually have, is they tend to go in for the handshake way too strong or way too weak because they don't want to hurt the other person. But the truth is that you want to give the same handshake to both female and male, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So here's the proper handshake. It's about 2 to 3 pumps. See how I had a little bit of squeeze but not too much? You want to do that with everyone. Now that you see how to do a proper handshake, 2 to 3 pumps, a little squeeze, not too much, Why don't you turn to the person next to you and go ahead and give them a handshake.
2 to 3 pumps. Or 2 to 3 pumps. Yeah, that's good. It works.
Yeah, it is.
Too little, Pat. It's good to see you, young Pat.
Very good, sir.
That adjustment if we should, that out of country type people come in to use a handshake because you said it different.
Right. And that's another thing that you really have to be careful with, is if you're talking to someone from a different country, you're going to need to know their body language. Because the truth is, they should be doing ours because they're in our country, but they're not going to. So it's your job to make that connection. So if I was from over in the Middle East, they get closer together. So you want to make sure that you get up in their space a little bit more than you would with other people. And it's actually funny because it sounds not very comfortable, but it shows that you care about the other person when you get that close. So you don't want a handshake, it's more of a hug. Whereas if you're in Mexico, it's a kiss on the cheek. So you want to know the people that you are with. And if you don't know, do some research. So that was a really good question. Thank you for bringing that to the table. So did anyone have any thoughts on their handshake and maybe things that they need to work on themselves?
I'm a big man, so my hands are big. So
Yeah.
when you're dealing with young ladies and stuff like that, mine's wrapped.
Yeah.
You know. So,
Yeah.
so I try to go in like I don't get the dead fish, but I try to get that comfortable touch.
Right. That's something that you're just going to need to practice with because you can't help that. But that's why it's really important to go home and practice with the people that you know giving good handshakes. So, yeah.
I went to a workshop where they said if someone tries to control you, you turn your hand and they can't control you. Have you heard about that?
I've heard a little bit about that, but you want to make sure that you don't overpower the person that you're talking to.
But it's you kind of move into them if they try to, because some people are real domineering.
Right. That goes back to just knowing the person.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to make a business transaction, you need to mirror the other person. So that would be the case where you actually need to let them kind of empower you just a little bit to show that you care about them. Because there are different types of situations where that person might be in a little bit more power than you. And you need to let them have a little bit of the floor just to show authenticity. Thank you.
When we went to Japan, I think that we wouldn't have to do no handshake. It was a lot more verbal, wasn't it?
Well, it's different. Their business thing is the presentation of a business card and a bow.
Okay.
Maintaining eye contact and a slight smile with a bow.
Yeah.
I was just grabbing people.
You can't do that.
Hey, how you doing?
No,
When me and my sister went to Haiti a couple years ago, it was all touch and feel. So it was more of go in for the hug, no handshake. People would hold your hand even if they didn't know you. So that was one thing that I tried to work on. It's just going, and it felt so weird, but going up to random people and just grabbing their hand, that shows that you are loving on them and you care about them. So yeah, it's really fascinating. I didn't know that one. So.
Would you think it would be necessary to make it our business to study other cultures' gestures?
Right. It depends what your business is. If you are planning on going to other countries, I think that should be your number one, is knowing their nonverbals, the way that they talk, their gestures, their smells. Because if you go over to Germany, you don't want to wear perfume and cologne because they actually don't like that. It's a turnoff. They're more of the natural body scent. So you want to make sure that you go, yeah, I know, and it sounds crazy, but that's what they are. And especially if you're going into someone else's country, you want to respect their culture. I know that people come over here and don't respect ours, but it's not our choice for them to do that. It's our decision to relate to that person. So that was a really good question. And if you do have a lot of people from other cultures, and then that would be when you really need to study that. But I definitely believe that everyone should go research and figure out different nonverbal gestures, even in the United States, because I promise you that you will benefit from that in your business. It's helped me personally at school. There was some things I was doing wrong, and just like simple gestures where I was overpowering my boss on accident, and that's when I decided to take it down, and I actually benefited from it. So that's what that was going back to what you said, Rana, with the overpowerment. You got to be really careful who you're talking to, because if you are talking to someone in more power, you want to make sure that you relate to that person. So now let's move on to the next one, and that's power poses. Does anyone in here know what a power pose is? Okay, can you tell me your definition of a power pose?
Whenever, basically the way that you sit, or just stand, or really just how you look, it either shows weakness or strength. So if I'm sitting here, like, it shows, you know, that guy has no power, but if I'm over here, like, it's like I own you.
Okay. Garrison, you actually brought up a really good point. That's his definition of power poses, so I'm actually going to give you mine really quick, but yes, that was a very good point, and we'll talk on that a little bit more in a second. So what I said is a power pose is a stance or way of sitting that empowers you. So it's about the same thing, and that's just the definition that I got from it. So Amy Cuddy, she was actually on TED Talks, and she does a lot of different business things and public speaking events. She actually talked on power poses. And Garrison, actually, I'm aware that he watched the video as well, so I know that he's getting a lot of his information from her too. But she tells us the different power poses and how it brings you confidence. So let's say that you have an interview and you're feeling a little bit down, you're kind of nervous for the interview. It's really important to go stand in front of the mirror, and it sounds so silly, but just give a power pose. And that's what one looks like. Spread your legs out, your arms like this, and just stand there for about 3 to 5 minutes. Just look at yourself and tell you that you can do it, because that will bring confidence, and that will help you in the next event that you are going to use. Brings it to your point. It's really important that you don't give power poses like that in public to people who you're trying to make business transactions with. You do not want to stand there like this, or with your legs spread out when you're talking to someone. That is a real turnoff, and I'll just tell you right now, if someone did that to me, I would not do business with that person. It is important to show confidence, so shoulders up, walk in, dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. And I guarantee you that you will get that job just by dressing like that. Even if it comes to 2-3 years down the road, people will notice by the way that you walk, act, and talk. So I recommend going and actually looking at that video of Amy Cuddy talking about power poses. It's really fascinating, and I also put it in your notes, so you can do that later. Does anyone have any questions on power poses, or any comments that they would like to have stories to share? No?
I don't know. I don't know if this matters, but is there any way you can notice when somebody is letting that come out naturally? And I mean that, as in the gestures and power poses. Can you see or notice anything as if it's coming out natural, or if they're trying just to, you know?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people can portray themselves as something that it's not really, or then you put yourself in conflict.
Okay.
How can you?
Yeah. Did everyone hear what Mark had to say? He talked about, does it come out naturally, or if you're working really hard on it, and how can you help it? Is that what your question was?
Okay, say if I'm doing a business transaction with you, and you're the employee that I'm trying to impress. Is there any way you can notice to see any body language, to see, or anything that I say, to notice that I'm faking it to make it, or if it's just natural?
Yeah.
Something that I was brought up with
Okay. You can notice when people are faking it. I don't know about you, but it's obvious when someone doesn't like you and they're just putting on a smile.
Right.
So that's why it's really important to just be yourself. Even if you don't like the person, just continue to act like you do in your head, because the more that you smile and you talk good about someone, you actually tend to like them later without even realizing it. I do that myself. If I find that I'm judging someone or I'm doing something that I shouldn't, because it happens to all of us. We don't mean to, but it just does with the first impressions. Think to yourself and tell yourself in your head that you enjoy being with that person, and it will change your nonverbals and your gestures. It'll make it look more authentic and like you are meaning what you are saying and by the way that you are acting. It works for me, and I know other people that do it as well. If you are big in belief, and if you are a Christian or you come from different backgrounds, pray about them as well. I know that I'm sure that not everybody in here is, and that's okay. But if you are, just pray for them, and it will help. It'll change the way that you act. But when you are in an interview, it's a little bit different setting because you're going to be nervous anyways. And the person interviewing you knows that. They know that you're going to act a little different. So that's a little bit different case right there. But you don't want to overpower the person that's interviewing you. You want to show confidence, but not cocky. So, yeah.
Can I add to that? Another thing that in the TED Talk she talks about is that if you do the power pose in front of the mirror, you're gonna believe it. If you believe it, it's gonna come out naturally. And so that's why she talked about doing the 30 seconds in the bathroom right before you go in, just X out and be like, I got this. Because the more you talk to yourself, the more you believe it. And when you believe it, it naturally comes through. At the beginning, it will be awkward and be like, I'm gonna be good. But the more you talk to yourself, the more comfortable you get, and that actually shows.
Yeah.
So it does come out. You just have to practice it, like she said.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Holly, for putting that in as well. Rana, do you have a question?
I was at a meeting today, and it was on marketing, and the lady said, if your kids were brats this morning and your husband didn't have milk left, and she was just naming all this stuff, she said, and you're going in to do business or you're in a job interview, she said, when you step out of the car, you've had the worst morning of your life. She said, get out and say, great, great, great. And she's made us all say it. And we all started laughing because you can't say great, great, great and not.
Right.
It just made us all smile. So that's just something else to kind of, before you go in and do that, I guess. But it was kind of neat how saying that, or the word awesome, she said, works. So.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for putting that in. I didn't know that, so that's a little advice that I'll use too. So thank you, Rana. Okay, now it's time to talk about mirroring the customer, getting on their level. If you're going to go talk to someone and do a business transaction, you want to make sure that you relate to their body movements. So we actually learned at school in my nonverbal class that there was two different sales guys, and they were selling a car, so what Rana does. And the first guy actually went in, he had a good handshake, he was nice, he was sweet, but he didn't follow the mirroring the customer. So he went and did that. The same people came in again. They were doing a test study on it. So they came in again, and a different guy, different salesman selling the car, did the same exact thing. But when it came time to actually go through with the sale, he actually got down on their level, and he had them sit in the car, and he actually bent down to talk to them. So he got down to their position. You want to make sure that you get down to their position. You don't want to be above that person. You want to be at the same level as that person. And you know what? The second guy is the one that actually made the sale. So it's really interesting to follow through with that as well.
Whenever you say mirror, is that like to offer them a drink or something to serve them?
Right. No, that's just like if I was talking to you and I'm at the table with you and you seem to do more hand movements, I'm going to want to do more hand movements. If you seem to be more like subtle, you want to be more subtle. You want to follow that person. You just want to make sure that you talk that way. If you can tell that they are more emotional when they talk, you want to tell more emotional stories. If you can tell that they're more factual, give facts. That's what I mean by that.
Okay.
So here's another really non-verbal tip that a lot of people don't know. If you're giving a party, or you're inviting people over to your house, or just even going to a business meeting, it's really important that you create a circle. So even by the way that this room is set up, it's more circle environment than it is flat. And when you have it more lined up, it's teacher to student. And that's fine, but the problem with teacher to student setup is the students are not going to want to answer the questions. Whereas when it's a circle, that goes back to we're on the same level. Anyone is available to talk. So that's really important to have the flow of the room. And that also opens up for the people who are more shy, feel more comfortable to get out of their zone because they feel like, oh, I'm a part of this group. So that's another big nonverbal tip that a lot of people actually don't know, and that you will benefit from that if you just make the environment flow. Because people go to spaces that they don't feel crammed in and they feel able to talk. It's really hard to talk to someone when you're standing next to them as well. So that's another thing, is make sure that you stand across from them so you can hear what they have to say. Because if you're doing this, it's more of the car placement. And you know how it is when you're in a car, it's a little bit different because you're sitting down, but when you're standing up, it feels uncomfortable. So that's another tip as well. Nonverbals on social media. Yes, there are nonverbals on social media if you did not know that. This is why I love nonverbal communication. So let's say that you post your business. Mine would be either It Works, because I sell body wraps and a bunch of other stuff as well, or political events. If someone likes it and they tend to like your statuses, go ahead and message them. Because a lot of times people are too scared to say that they want to buy your product or they want to talk to you. But if they like it, you can tell that they like what you have to say. They're just too scared to say anything. So if you message them, that lets them know that you are available to meet up with them. And that potentially can be a customer for you, or a good friendship in the end as well. So that's really important to pay attention to the nonverbals. Even on social media, you can tell what people want to hear. Show up on time. This is really important, especially in a business setting. You want to show up on time. You want to dress for the job that you want. If you show up late, that's showing that you don't want to really be there and you're not really interested in getting that job. So it's really important to show up on time, especially if you've scheduled a meeting. Maybe get there 2 minutes early. My dad always told me 10 to 15 minutes early is on time is late is not acceptable. And that is what I use. And that's also another really good thing to remember, even in the workplace. If you show up on time, your boss will recognize it, even if you don't know that they are. They will recognize it, and it might potentially lead you to a higher position or a raise. You never know. So here's the thing that I use with my friends. If someone asks me a question, because I work with the Republican Party here in Oklahoma, and politics can get kind of dirty and frustrating at times because people don't always agree with what you have to say. What I do is if someone asks me a question about a social event, and this is really good for you to remember too, because Corey is actually running for District 44 here in Oklahoma, so get to know him afterwards as well. But this is really important, is that when someone asks you something about a social event, that if you don't know, you just tell them that you're going to go and research it, and then you'll come back to them with your answer. Because that shows that you're going to set everything that you have on facts and not opinions. And facts is a lot stronger than opinions. You're building your house on rock, not sand. And that's really important. Because if you just throw out opinions, you're just talking in a circle. It's like you're talking to a wooden fence, and that's not going to get you anywhere. So it's really important to go back to facts and to also listen to what they have to say, because everyone doesn't agree with you, but okay, we have about 5 minutes. But everyone might not agree with you, but it's still important to listen to what they have to say because it still might be something that you can use. So, and you don't want to break friendships because burning bridges doesn't get you anywhere. So, we have about 5 more minutes, so I'm gonna just kind of go pretty quickly through this, but ask the right questions to get the right answers. That goes back to the whole, there's no stupid question things. There are some stupid questions, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. Ask the right question to get the right answer. So think about that. Don't just throw out a question because someone wants you to answer it. Think about it before you ask. Be real, honest, authentic. I know I've talked about that a lot tonight, but it does go a long way. And that goes back to when you don't know the right answer, you can say that you don't know, but this is what I do know. So I also do that as well. If someone asks me something that I don't know, I say, honestly, I don't know. That's a good question. I will go do my research on that, but I can tell you what I do know from personal experience. This is what I know. So not only did you put facts behind it, but your opinion sounds stronger because you're letting them know, this is what I do know, so this is what you can have. Meet new people. If you're finding yourself in a situation where you don't have enough people in your business, go to meetups, meet new people. It's important to get out of your comfort zone at least once a week because that builds confidence, and you'll surround yourself with people that you know. And it's actually funny because the top 5 people that you are closest to, if you can name your top 5 friends, those are the people that you become. So if you want to be important, if you want to be someone that has a good job, surround yourself with someone that has a good job. I'm 19 years old, and my top 5 friends are people in power. That's because I surround myself with people in power. So it's important to do that. And just because you don't know this, just because you're too young, doesn't mean that you can't do it. Because everyone has to start somewhere. And you know what? If you don't know what to do, then ask someone to mentor you. People appreciate mentoring. So that's what I love about this, is you have a mentor. And once you've been mentored, you can go mentor someone as well. You learn from that. Now you have someone that's in your top 5 friends. See how that works? It's a circle. Create your circle. If you want to change it, change it. Don't complain about it, do it. That's how you make a difference. Don't be afraid of what people think, because most likely they're thinking the same thing, they just don't want to say it. So just say it. Do it in a nice and respectful way, and people will appreciate it. Don't circle around the question. Just throw it out there. Let them know what you think, let them know where you stand, let them know that you're willing to hear what they have to say. It goes a long way. The little steps lead to a mile. So remember that. And the last category is spoken words, because your words do matter. So make sure that you say it the right way. And then that goes back to listening to what they have to say. And I know we've all heard this since we were little, but it's really important to be kind and thoughtful and choose your words wisely. Because if you're saying something that's not nice, then you probably shouldn't say it at all. So that's something to remember as well. In conclusion, since people do business with people that they know, like and trust, it's important that we grow and learn how to communicate with others, nonverbal and verbally. And that way our relationships will build and grow and lead to lasting friendships and success. So don't forget, how are you today?